Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Thursday. It's November the 12th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this will be our last chart lesson until it'll probably be Wednesday before we have another one of next week. I will be taking vacation for the next couple of days, so no chart lesson Friday, Monday, or Tuesday, and if I get back on time, we'll be back on track Wednesday. And I'll probably do one Friday next week too. So we'll just have to see. Um, but just want to give you a heads up. It won't be There won't be any chart lessons Monday and Tuesday of next week because I will be on vacation. So um, it was all downhill today. We had a big sell-off during the overnight, and then we just kind of went flat after that. What we have here is a spike and channel down with a two-tiered channel working lower, and we really from just before the regular session open until almost 10 o'clock, not much happened, just this little range. But if you know and understand these ranges, this was a easy place to make several easy scalps. And, these things are so predictable. I like ranges because they're very predictable. And this one, it's just really flat across here. It's got a relatively clear um, low here and a relatively clear high. We did trade down into this, so the bias remains mostly down into this because generally you may break out both sides, but generally you're going to succeed in going in the original direction of the trend. So that means if we break out of this and succeed, we'll probably go lower. Now, understand too that because of the way this price action, there was a gap on the daily chart. So I assumed they'd probably try to fill that gap before we went lower. And we did break higher, but because of what turns out to be the trend line up here, we never went any higher than that. We didn't quite fill the gap. The gap would have been, we closed yesterday at, actually the close is right there, 2069 and a quarter. That'd be the black line that you see, a little dashed black line. It may not be easy to see, but if I put this line on it, it's right across there. And so we missed filling that gap by 63.50 to 69. So about three and a quarter points from filling it. So we didn't quite fill that gap. And somebody asked me today what made me think that prices would try to go higher to fill that gap. Well, gaps, basically that's just experience because gaps generally get filled rather quickly. They don't hang around. Um, there's some old rule that says within 3 minutes, then 3 hours, then 3 days, and then 3 weeks, and then 3 months. And occasionally you'll see a gap that gets run past that never gets filled for quite a long time. But generally they're filled within a day or so at the most. Generally these overnight gaps filled in the same day. And so that's why I assumed we'd probably fill that gap, but we didn't. And we notice what happens here. We have a big failure out the upper side. Then we have what looks like a failure out the low side. It pulls back and we just go lower again. And that's because this trend line was in play, and that's the key entry point. And notice how that's where your best moves came from, off of that trend line. And once we started lower again, I would have measured this leg right here. And then after measuring, getting your distance, put it down here, and notice um, we pretty much made a perfect measured move. We didn't quite get there before the close, but before it was over, we actually went a little further than that, but that's very close. So um, I would have also measured this leg right here and looked for a measured leg here. We didn't quite get that one. We missed it by a couple of ticks, and then we bounced. So always look for those measured moves. That'll help keep you in the trade. But let me back up. Let's talk about the trades. There were quite a few of them in the range here. If you understand how to, trade ranges, is fairly easy, really. But anyway, we were trending down here. Um, we had our second touch of our trend line here, or this set the trend line, those two swings. This one confirmed it. That's a nice bearish bar. It's a double top as well. It's a double test of this triple bottom here, a little breakout area. So this sets up a nice trade. You got to go short at the very low of the day there, but I like that one because of the trend line. It's a key entry point. I would have liked it better if you had a little more room. And notice there's no overlap here. This was really bearish, so you know, if you try to get too cute with this one, you may have missed it. And you had to be real quick and get your stop. And you probably had to use a limit order there and to try to get in that one. And you may have missed that one. But if you can just catch that one trade and a runner, then you're in pretty good shape. And then we just kind of went flat here. There is a second entry short right here. It's very tempting. And if you did get short into that one, then you got to be you just got to reverse there. Actually, I wouldn't even reverse here. I would just exit this one when it backed up. And the reason I don't like going short on that one is you did get your break here, so you've already got a break outside the trend line, so you figure you're probably going to push back to the EMA now, because look how long we've just been so far down, so far away. Usually prices don't go that long before they snap back and to that EMA, and so we're overdue for it. But if you look here, you've got a double bottom. This is just a triple bottom, so you're going short right into a double bottom there. Not only is it the low of the day, like this one, this is the low of the day, but this is like a little breakout pullback short, where this is a double bottom. And so it's really dangerous going short into that double bottom, especially when you're not coming off the EMA or the trend line or anything else. So, but I'm going to tell you, that is real tempting, and I thought hard about entering there myself. So, if you did enter there, that's the only clues that you've really got, is that it's time for a correction. So when it snaps back here, this is a great place to go short. You've really got another little kind of double, triple top across there. And this is like a little failed break higher out of that trading range. And that's just a little trading range. That's what that is. And this is a failed break higher. And then guess what? We fell out the low side. There's a breakout pullback short right here. But again, you're going short right into that support. And it's more of a breakout pullback short. But I still don't like it because prices still have not pushed through this little area right here until right here. So at first it looked like the range was going to just be this part right here. This continues to hold across here except for a couple of failed breakouts, but the lower part ends up down a little bit lower here. So I don't like that one either, even though it looks like a nice signal bar. If it would have went all the way out and won, you see, the thing is you got to go short at the very low of the day, and a lot of times that doesn't work out for you. So I don't like it. And you don't have any reason to think about a bounce here yet necessarily either, because you didn't have this low part yet. You didn't really get it confirmed until you can see it's stacking up, but when it bounces here again, then you kind of got it confirmed. So you don't really want to go long yet. And then you get a second entry short right here, right off that high. It does bounce, and you get a double test of that high, so you can either enter here, add on here, or this is one of those where I like to add on a second group. And it takes it a minute, but it works on down. And then guess what? It bounces right there again. This one really was supposed to be green. Forgot to change the color of it. And the only reason it's green is because we don't really have a break of this trend line. This tends to fit pretty well across here, but you might have started your trend line here, and you wouldn't necessarily be wrong by doing that. If you did, that thing move there. It's not wanting to move for me. If you did start it there, um, you got a break. But what this is more, it's more of a trading range again. It's going more sideways here. So it's like another little failed breakout and then a double bottom here setting this one. So I like that one. It's borderline being blue, but I think it needs to be green. And the only reason I made it green was because I like this trend line right here, and there's no close outside of it yet. And so it's a little bit risky. But there's some other reasons here that I just talked about. The fact that it's a little failed breakout, it's a double bottom here. Prices are a little bit away from the EMA, not much, but when you're swinging back and forth, it doesn't get very far away. You get a second entry long counting off this low right here, but you're too close to this top. There's too much congestion right there. And you actually get a little failed breakout right here. So you could have, I really probably should circle this one too, because you do have your break and a new high. So that one really should be circled. I didn't like it because it's just a first entry counting off the top, and generally you want to wait on your second entry especially when you've already broken through once here. And really what happens is this kind of moves up a little bit later on, but it's too early for that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that one green because it's not a bad setup. It is a second entry counting off the high. It's a little failed break higher. It does kind of come off the midline here, which you may not have had that yet, but you could have found this low here and drug it up and saw that it's fitting there when it comes back up here. So that's not one that's really hard to find if you understand what we do. So, but I liked entering here when it pulled back. You're figuring it's going to go all the way down to here, and you got a nice. This is really your signal bar. This one, I'd wait on this one. And when it broke below that, I would put my stop or my limit order, sell limit order back where the stop would have gone on that one. And it did back up, and then it runs on down again. You get a bounce here, but again, you got a lot of overlap there. I think you're better off to wait on this little test, and it does hold back inside this support and then goes up. So I like going long there. And then you get a second entry short again here. It's almost a repeat pattern of that one. It's a double top there. Pulls back. But notice what happened here. We did get through the midline of the big pattern, and we pull back and test it. And notice you got your trend line off those first two swings. And then you get this big bullish reversal bar. So I like that one. Thinking that you're going to push back up and at least test this high. And guess what? It goes back and it confirms your trend channel line on the equal distance or your trend line on the other side. And so now you got a confirmation of your trend line. You don't really have it confirmed from touches yet, but you've got enough information here to know that to be expecting this trend line to possibly be there, and it works to the tick. I mean, we actually pushed through it a tick, but notice how it closes inside that. And we did have a break of this one here and a push up. And notice this, you got a little double top and it pushes higher. And you got a little bitty bar. This is a really low risk entry. I'd still marked it green simply because it could have bounced another time and got another little push up. But I like this trade. It's real small. It's only like 3 ticks. So it's, very low. If you've got a similar setup with that 1 tick break higher, you probably got some people trapped. And it's kind of a low risk entry to ride it back to the EMA. Plenty of room there. And it just keeps going. I mean, this turns out to be another great trade. And at this point, that's when you look for your measured move in the other direction. And guess where it bounces? Right here. You got a break and a move in a new low. And there's actually a second entry long here. But this was just kind of going sideways again, and bars are stacking up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 6 bars stacked up there. So I didn't like that one. Looking at it after the fact, I liked it a little better and wished I'd have taken it, but I didn't. And so It probably should be green if you want to be a little aggressive, because we do have the break and a new low, and there's actually two pushes to a low, and then it reverses right off that support. So there's some reasons to consider it, but I was thinking measured move here, possibly at least coming down to test this low side as well, maybe. And you don't really get an entry on this one. It just takes off like a rocket. But I don't see any good way. There is a hidden second entry short there, but you don't have a very good signal bar. This would have to be your signal bar, and then you're getting short right into that previous support. That's not good. So just a lot of reasons not to like it. Um, and then and notice how we went through the EMA here. You're probably going to pull back and test that. It does pull back and test it, makes a higher low. And so I like that one for a little aggressive long back to the, see if we come back and test this breakout here. And if you do catch it, it could be a good trade. And this turns out to be a great trade because it comes back, tests it, and then it pulls back here again, and it confirms that trend line. And you figure we're probably working back to the upper side. Everything's back above the EMA. And so I like that one for a long. And then guess what? We work right back to the trend line. This confirms, now you got three touches of this main trend line. Look at that big bearish bar. It's a fairly big bar, but I like that one. Then you get a second entry here, counting off that high. And this, you could treat this as a pullback, first entry pullback. So it's like a failed second entry long. It's a breakout pullback short, testing this area again across here. And then it pulls back and tests it again. That one really should be circle. I missed that one. It's not a great signal bar, but this is a double top, so you can count this as a new high here as well. And that's a failed second entry long. It's a double retest. Notice how you pulled back twice and tested that area. So I like that one for a short. I'm sorry. And then you get a little pullback right here and one more push down. And you figure we're probably going to test this low here, and we're probably headed down to here and probably here on the shorter term. And that's exactly where it goes to before it bounces. And that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour, so there's no new entries. But if you caught a couple of these, you would have had runners on them. And you could ride this until you want to exit, or until it gives you whatever your exit signal is that you like to use. But you really could make some, you really could have a pretty good trading day right through this trading range before you ever even get to all this. And that's generally what I do. I like to start around 7 and try to be done by somewhere between 10 a.m. and lunchtime, my time. And you can do that. It's not as difficult to do as one might think it would be. So again, the big picture is just a two-tier. This is a spiking channel with a two-tiered channel working lower. There's lots of short-term trends and stuff in there. But just remember, always your best entries are your key entry points, which are the trend lines, pullbacks to the trend line, bounces off the highs of a trading range. You're actually going short off the highs, long off the lows. And again, working down, look where all your best entries happen, off this trend line, or this trend line, or off of this support line, or this resistance line, or these trend lines, or these trend lines. The key entry points, that's where all the magic generally happens. So if you can train yourself to have the patience and the wherewithal to wait until those areas, you're going to have the best. You're going to find your best trades there, and you're going to have your best success by doing that. But anyway, we've got about 20 minutes worth, so I'm going to wrap it up. Again, no chart lesson until Wednesday of next week. So if you're looking for one, there won't be one until I'll be gone through Tuesday. So my plan is to be back Wednesday for a regular day, but you never know when traveling what might happen. But so if there's not one Wednesday, you'll know I probably, if something happened, I didn't get back in town. But otherwise, I plan to have a normal day on Wednesday, and we'll have a chart lesson. So, but I'm going to wrap it up for now. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.